Are your KO flashes looking like this? Boy! Or are you curious about playing KO but don't know where to start? Well, today we're going to be going over Valorant's new agent KO. We will be talking about how to use this kit, and about my progression throughout the week, and I will also have a montage at the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you could leave a like, as it really helps out pushing this video in the YouTube algorithm. Also, we recently hit 100 subscribers on the channel, so thank you all for those of you who subscribed. Now, let's get into the video where I played as KO for a week. So first things first, let's go over how KO's kit works. KO's C is called Fragment, which you can get 1 per round and it costs 200 credits. His Q is his flashes, which you can get 2 per round and it costs 250 credits. He also has his 0 or E, which is his free ability that you get every round, which we will talk about more in a bit. And finally, we have his null command, which is his ult and takes 7 ult points. First, let's talk about KO's molly. His molly has to be pixel perfect as compared to the other agents in the game, due to the fact that his molly has a sort of different mechanic. In the center of the molly, it does 60 damage per second. You can notice the difference between the center and the outer layer by this inner circle. If an enemy is on the outer ring, they will get dealt with 29 damage per second. Now, his molly does not go through walls as the other mollies do in the game. If you notice, when I use Killjoy's molly around the wall, I will be taking damage as opposed to when I'm using KO's molly. So I would recommend using his mollies whenever you're executing a retake or a post-plant lineup if you're into that. I think his mollies are also best whenever you're trying to hold off enemies from pushing onto a site. Now, his flash is probably my favorite ability since it's a CSGO flash. There are 2 versions of the flash with the left and a right click. The left click allows you to throw the flash at a faster speed and a longer range than the right click. I believe the best time to throw the left click flash is when you're throwing support flashes for your teammates. For example, let's say your teammates are executing a retake on A site on Haven. What you can do if you're rotating over is throw a flash over this wall, and this will blind anybody that's looking towards the CT side. Now, the right click is just a short range flash that pops at a faster time. The right click can best be shown in this example. As you can see, I wanted to get a heaven control on split. I had a feeling that there's going to be an enemy anticipating the push, so I wanted to make sure to use my right click flash. The whole idea with the right click flash is you're going to want to peek with your flash. The best way to do that is by throwing your flash a little bit behind you and waiting a second to peek out with it. If you decide to throw your flash next to you, sometimes you can blind yourself by causing you to lose the advantage that the flash gives you. You're going to want to peek while your flash is popping, since this causes the enemy to either be blinded or you can catch them looking at a wall. So to reiterate, I think the best time to use the right click is when you're entering onto a certain area. Next, we're going to go over KO's knife, which is a new mechanic that Valorant added to the game. And just FYI, I'll be showing you some of KO's knife's lineup that I found that are simple enough to execute in the background. KO's knife has the ability to suppress your enemies, or not allow them to use their abilities for 8 seconds once they get tagged by it. His knife can be shot down if you're able to shoot it before the ping goes off, but it can also ping enemies through walls, so where you place your knife is very important. Though one of the best things about his knife is that it tells you the amount of enemies suppressed by it, causing you to grab intel of where your enemies can be at. For example, let's say your enemy is pushing B on ascent. What you can do is throw your knife on the roof, as it will cause your enemies to get pinged, and in this case you're going to be able to see that the enemies are planning to push B. The best way to use his knife on defense would have to be to slow down an enemy push on the site. You could delay the push by suppressing your enemy's controller and duelist, until your enemies are able to rotate to the site that you're holding. On the offensive side of the map, I think it would be best to use whenever you want to clear some spots where your enemy can be at. If you throw your knife at the tree, you can check to see if anybody's playing stairs or playing on B site. If you know where your enemy usually tends to play at, you can throw your knife in that area and hope to disable their abilities while you make your way onto the site. And again, make sure you place your knife somewhere where your enemy might not be able to shoot it down. Finally, KO's ult is a new mechanic since it allows you to suppress your enemies for short periods of time, and your ult lasts for 15 seconds. Also, Battle Royales came into Valorant, since KO is able to get revived whenever he goes down in his ult. And when KO is down, he has 1000 health, and he's able to see enemies that may appear in front of him. His ult range is similar to the bomb or sound radius, making it his ult perfect for pushing onto a site. Also, if you're going to execute a retake onto a site, his ult can stop enemies from using their abilities. One counter to his ult is that you can see where his ult's coming from. Now let's see where KO ranks against other initiators. Well, I believe KO is one of the weaker agents whenever it comes to initiators, since his competitions are pretty solid agents. Sova, which is probably the strongest initiator and one of the strongest agents in the game, is great for gathering intel on where the enemy can be, and basically has wall hack. He's a strong agent when pushing onto a site with his drone, and is good for post-fight lineups if you're into that. Again, his ult is also pretty strong when used correctly. KO can enter onto his site, but once you're done with his flashes, that's pretty much it regarding entering into the site. Now you might say KO can also be good for gathering information. Well, yes, but he doesn't give you the exact wall hacks that Silva normally would. Since with Silva you're able to see exactly where your enemy would be at, and KO gives you a rough estimate on the area where your enemy might be at. Now regarding Skye. Skye is an agent that has really started to become one of the best agents in the game as more people start to learn how to use her. Her dog is basically works the same as Silver's Drone by helping out entry or gather information on where your enemy might be at. Her flashes are very strong since not only are you able to control them, but you're also able to gather information on whether your enemy was flashed or not. She's also able to heal multiple teammates and is the only agent that could do that at the moment. She also has a pretty strong ult since you're able to entry with it or just gather information. I will say, KO is stronger than Breach, though that's not much of a competition. Sorry Breach. So I would say KO would be the third most used initiator at the moment. Now let's get to talking about my week progression. Before we get into my progression, I want to mention, I'm typically a controller player. No, not this controller, but this controller. I like to play with characters like Astra, Omen, and Viper, so I was getting out of my comfort zone by playing KO. At first, I wasn't too sure how to be using KO. I got the hang of its flashes and molly pretty quick, but I wanted to know what would be the best time to use your knife since it's a new mechanic in the game. Also, after this week, I'm still hesitant on when I should be using my ult. I feel as though there could be more use cases, but we're gonna have to wait and see and play with KO more. But let me go over my stats with KO and how I performed with him. I kept track of stats like kills, deaths, assists, average combat score, map, rank, and whether I won or lost the game. So here's how my progress looks throughout the week. Feel free to pause the video if you want to take a deeper look into the stats. If you notice, at first I was playing pretty solid with him. Then towards the midpoint of the week I started struggling with him a bit on day 3 and day 4, since I wasn't really sure how I should be playing on Ascent. I made a bounce back towards the end of the week to stay around the same area when I started using KO. So in total, these are my average stats for the week. For kills, I averaged 16.69, deaths, I averaged 15.77, I averaged 8 assists per game, and I had an average combat score of 224.62 throughout the week. I played on every map with KO and performed the best during my buying game. I ended up winning 4 games and losing 9. Hopefully once I get the hang of KO, I'll bring up some of those stats and win more games with him. Now that we have talked about my progression, let's get into the montage.
30 seconds left. Last player standing.
Nice.
You want a piece of this? Flashback. 3 kills. Spike down.
Nightmare's over. 1 enemy remaining.
3 kills. Next time, buy the heavy machinery. There. Got him.
1 enemy remaining.
Obstacle removed.
1 enemy remaining.
3 kills.
CT.
Do not resist.
1 enemy remaining.
Oh, Raze is gone.
1
Watch
enemy
market.
remaining.
How's it going, baby?
Nice.
You're 3K, babe.
Waiting to kill.
1 enemy remaining.
Let's go.
Hope you guys enjoyed the video where I played with KO for a week. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and comment down below how you feel about KO, and if you may have any different opinions on the things I mentioned throughout the video. Also, thank you for 100 subscribers. If you're new to the channel, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe and check out the other content on the channel. And with that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.